great to be here. I'm Darryl Condon, managing partner at hcma here in Vancouver, and we're bringing a Vancouver focus back to the event and talking and sharing, discussing some of the attributes that Vancouver has become known for, and some of the challenges, and really some of the aspirations around livability. So this is growing up. Does vertical density mean sacrificing livability? And so as I think we know who live here, and many people who have learned about Vancouver over the last number of years know that there's been a transformation of the central area and many areas of the city with vertical living over the last, at least the last 30 years. But things are changing. We are at a crossroads in many respects. So we've been actively testing the proposition of what does it mean to live well vertically, and some of that, again, is changing. For instance, more recently, Vancouver's Broadway plan, which has been somewhat controversial in the region, it in itself contemplates around just over 41,000 units, homes, which has a capacity of about 64,000 people and 45,000 jobs over the next few decades. And of course, it's built around a new rapid transit spine and public realm upgrades. But that's only one part of where we're seeing change in the city. There's other major developments either in progress or planned. Many of you would have toured the Sinauk, Squamish Nations development project, redevelopment of Oak Ridge Centre, which we're seeing that sort of trend of shopping mall redevelopments. There's new communities planned for the Jericho lands, False Creek Flats, East Fraser lands, and others. There tends to be a commonality in those projects in that they're lands that maybe didn't have a stakeholder there to object. And so the aspects of vertical living were addressed without a lot of controversy. We've seen shifts more recently in policy. We've had policies for some time that have been trying to address livability, things like the floor plate dimensions, the maximum floor plate size, and the distance between towers. One thing that's unique about Vancouver is you see the distance in the space and the small floor plates, which means you should have more access to daylight, views, and so on. More recently, the City of Vancouver has replaced its legacy view cone policy. There's new public view guidelines. The view cone policy has been so instrumental in shaping the urban form and protecting views that have had public value and public good. The transit-oriented, at the provincial scale, the provincial government is getting involved in the conversation as well. Their transit-oriented area policy is now setting minimum heights within proximity of transit and other types of hubs. And so all this means it's not a question of if we should be building vertically. We are building vertically, and we will continue and probably build higher than we are. So it's really a question of how and how might we do it better. There's been lots of discussion of some of the examples of where that's that we can learn from. Singapore is a great example. It's been much discussed. But again, back here in Vancouver, we are at this crossroads. There's a tension that's coming into the conversation between neighborhoods that are maybe reluctant to see change, and now, as we're starting to encroach, the developments encroaching to those areas, we're seeing a different type of debate. But again, today isn't about having that debate. It's not about whether we should or if or even where. It's really about when we build vertically, how should we do it in a way that really supports livability, supports connection, and supports the type of community we want to build. So to explore this topic, I'm joined by two people who deal with this in their day-to-day work. Ashley Willard-Bauman is the founder and principal of Beyond the Buildings, a Vancouver-based advisory that works to create diverse, engaged communities and buildings across all real estate asset classes. Through her career, she's worked across 14 countries. She has been the Director of Business Innovation for IntraWest, Vice President of Real Estate for Envisioning and Storytelling, Director of Strategy and Marketing for UBC's Property Trust. She also serves on a number of industry boards, including has been two-term president of the Vancouver chapter of Commercial Real Estate Women, or CREW, and she's frequently asked to come and share her opinion on subjects like this. Marc Ricou is Executive Vice President of Commercial Properties at Bosa Properties, where he is responsible for leading the company's commercial real estate platform as well as its residential asset management team. Bosa currently manages around 1,850 purpose-built rental units. They have another 1,320 under construction and a future pipeline of over 4,000 apartments, so significant number of homes. These are located in both master plan communities and urban infill locations. And prior to joining Bosa, Marc oversaw Quadrille Property Group's development partnership program here in BC. So to get us started, Ashley and Marc are going to make very brief presentations to just help frame the conversation, then we're going to have some discussion afterwards. So I think first up is Ashley.
Well, thanks, Darryl. And I'm so excited that World City's here, guys, because we need some inspiration here in Vancouver right now. So it's been an inspiring day so far, and so happy to be part of it. And for those of you that I know, and I know a lot of people in this room, I am a positive person, but on behalf of our group, I've been asked to give a reality check of what's going on in Vancouver here. And I'm actually going to have to stand up because this is 48. I can't read that print on the smaller screen, so excuse me here. But building in Vancouver, beautiful. Oh, that's really fuzzy. But that's a hazy day here in Vancouver. But we do get those. But Vancouver, beautiful, but geographical constraints are our reality here, and we have tremendous amount of them. We've got mountains, oceans. What we often forget about is our very large working river. We have ALR land, view corridors, fault lines, and that just continues. So what is the result of that, as Darryl said? We went vertical and we went efficient before most of the world. I remember, earlier in my career, 25 years ago, traveling around and seeing the size and the plates and the details in our unit plans that we had to do here to embrace many challenges. And when you go to the markets, obviously the luxury of the land base would allow for larger units. But we have become a world leader in looking at livability and efficiency in vertical form. On top of that, by far in my 26 years in this business, this is the most challenging time we've ever hit as an industry. And policy, taxes, and building code, I just watched Wizard of Oz with my son, so oh my. And we have everything under the sun going on here right now. We've got immigration policies, even down to student visas and such, that are very restrictive. Foreigners can't buy in about, I think, 95% of our province right now. Even if it was titled it was on titled rights, we've restricted Airbnb access, and I believe about 90% of our province. Building code, step code, complications. We are taxed from a development point of view in so many ways. We're taxed in an individual way on our real estate. We pay a school tax, we pay property transfer tax. We've got changing and more restrictive capital gains policies. If you own a unit and you can't rent it, even if you put the price down, we pay a vacant unit tax. So, and this list sadly goes on. And so it makes it very hard to make money right now. Whether you're building or selling. And the result has been that we are, combined with, we really have a lack of head offices here. We have just been rated the third most unaffordable city in the world after Hong Kong and Sydney. So I was telling this to my son last night, and a few of you heard me say this earlier today, but he's his sports kid, and he paused a little bit, and he said, well, if it's the Olympics, we'd be on the podium. And I then went to explain what that really meant. And although I love the optimism, we have been on this podium for way too long. And so that's just a little bit of our reality check. But, in all of that, there is optimism. And I'm going to just give you a quick case study of one of the projects I'm working on that has been a beacon of optimism in our market. This is a project called Livy. It's in a municipality of Coquitlam, which is about 40 minutes away from here. And in the greater Vancouver area, because of our land constraints, we have urban and vertical everywhere. So we live very urban, outside of our main downtown core. Livy is 102 units. This was a site that was under receivership. And it was done by, it was purchased by one of my clients, and I'm very proud to be part of this team, North Star, and the developers here, Gord's in the back there. But the site was acquired rezoned and brought to market in 4 months, which is a slight miracle in our market here. But the results have been amazing. We've been one of the best-selling projects in the Lower Mainland, and we've added some great livability. So just to touch upon a few factors for this project. One, as I said, urban is not reserved for downtown. People want to live urban out of our downtown core, and we have to embrace that. You can live in 300, actually we have sub 350 square feet units to 1,100 square feet units, if everything is done right. So that means our plate is right, our unit placement's right, how we design our interiors, how we design the features in the units, how we design the amenities to accommodate livability, how we design the public realm around. If you do all that, then livability is great. You have to design for what the market wants now. And my pet peeve is a little when marketing companies come to me and they say, we're for first-time buyers and downsizers and all of this, and they demographically profile them all. And I said, okay, great. So what do they all have in common? Because that's what we need to focus on and build for. There is no option to not deliver lifestyle value over cost. So in my career, I believe people make decisions for 2 reasons. One, hope of gain or fear of loss. We don't have fear of loss. We have product. So it has to be hope of gain, and the lifestyle value has to be over that. Flight to quality is a given in our market. You have to deliver a quality product, but you need to be different. You need to find that point which makes you special. Embrace multi-generational trends, because that's what we see living in our vertical communities. And there's no margin for error. In a softer market, we really need to work to get it right. So kudos to the whole project team on this one. As you can see, I'm just going to show you some of our urban amenities. And we really, with 102 units in a wood frame building, we delivered a high-rise tower quality of amenities. So this is our outdoor deck. We then have embraced West Coast contemporary and brought it into our interior lounge. We spent a lot of time as a team looking at what are the big global trends that are hitting multi-generational audiences, and health and wellness is probably the biggest one. So we have a health and wellness zone, infrared saunas, seating areas, cold plunge, hot tub. There's a fire pit that's cut off here, and then a games area there. And we brought that inside. And twice as big gyms are not offering twice as value, especially if the strata has to pay for it in your fees, or renters have to pay for it. So we really looked at what are these health and wellness trends? How do we really create an efficient space? Virtual golf and sports. So another big global trend, as we all know, is interactivity. But what we want to do is bring people together in this building. So we want to embrace interactivity and give people a reason to connect socially in the building. And this also has a wet bar and will be a really fun space. My son saw this and said, "Can we live here, please?" So yeah, and that's Livy. I'm going to hand over to Marc here, but a good example of what's happening in our market right now. We launched this project actually just at the end of May. And yeah, happy to answer any questions later.
Thanks. So, as Darryl mentioned, our organization, we have both master plan communities and infill sites as well, a number of them in the west end of downtown, just west of where we are right now. I think it's interesting, the skyline, the blurry skyline we saw earlier. If you think about European cities and kind of the time frames of how density built up in a lot of the European cities, Paris and so forth, there's been density there for a long time. In Vancouver, the West End, again to the west of us, densest neighborhood in Canada, one of the densest neighborhoods in North America. It's been with us for 60 years, but most of what you saw in that skyline wasn't here in 1985. Like almost none of those towers were here. So in some respects, vertical livability is kind of a relatively recent experiment in this market when you think about it. We're learning with every project, and there's a lot of challenges. The affordability challenge, I think, is really core to what we're facing here. We're really compressed between the fees and taxes Ashley was mentioning, very high construction costs, with a population that frankly doesn't have a ton of disposable income, certainly when you compare the demographics here with the United States just to the south of us, and we have a couple of projects in the US, and it's really night and day in terms of price sensitivity, the average unit size in a new so-called luxury downtown tower between Vancouver and Seattle and Nashville, where we're building in the States. Parkway here, this master plan community is in Surrey. This is transit oriented. This is 150 meters from the SkyTrain. We've got one purpose-built rental tower on the left here, condo tower in behind, and then two hybrid buildings that are both condo above and rental below. This is a lot of product here. This is 950 units we're bringing on basically over a three and a half year period in the purpose-built rental space. The common themes in this location in particular, security is a really big one that we have to design for. There's a real tension for me around the automobile and the role the automobile plays in a project like this. A lot of our tenants rely on the automobile. A lot of our retail will rely on the automobile. And the automobile does serve a purpose in activating a project like this. And when you take into consideration lifestyle, security, and so forth, you do have to be very purposeful about how you interweave the personal transportation into the mix in a project like this. This is quite a bit different, but a lot of common themes here. This is two towers built across the street from each other, under construction today, literally 5 blocks west of here at Harwood and Thurlow. This is architecture kind of inspired by those sort of 60s and 70s era towers that I mentioned earlier. What we're going for here, it's not really transit oriented, and maybe another comment that's worth making is our rapid transit infrastructure is a work in progress. We just don't have the network that a lot of global cities have in terms of the way the rapid transit works here. It's sort of more a number of individual routes that work well for people in certain locations and are basically inaccessible from a lot of the city. This is a block and a half from the waterfront, so we're really doubling down on that in terms of the lifestyle that we're offering here. We will have canoes, very personal water devices that people can literally take out and take right down to the beach from here. And a big part of the amenity here in this urban infill location, a lot of them in Vancouver that really work well, is the retail amenities of having a really fantastic established neighborhood, in which case, and in this case it's the Davie Street Village, which is part of the West End and has been growing and getting better really for decades. And that's the key. This one doesn't have any retail in it, and because we've kind of got that fabulous amenity already, we don't need to sort of push rope and put more retail in this location. But I'd say, if we start to sort of look at the evolution here, integration of those off-site amenities is a really important consideration as well. Retail, filling in the gaps that might exist in your location is really important, a way to address livability. Transportation, again, is another one where, if you have a gap, how do you mitigate that gap? And I think it's going to be very interesting as we see all the personal transportation devices proliferate with the bike share, scooter share is big. What kind of impact's that going to have? And I think it's actually going to improve those locations that are peripheral to direct rapid transit access. With that, I'll turn it back to Darryl.
Great. Well, thanks. And so we have a challenging market, high prices, low incomes. So the performers are tight. I'm not saying anything we don't know really well here, and that's regardless of the. And so to achieve and to deliver the types of features and amenities that move beyond the individual unit and that encourage sociability, encourage community building, often get squeezed out. So maybe I'll start with you, Ashley. Do you have any thoughts on maybe some policy change that would help alleviate that and provide greater opportunity and incentive for the delivery of those types of amenities as well?
Yeah, well, I would love some policy changes around that. I think, we've been hearing today about bringing people together, right? And when, social isolation and such. And I think, if our municipalities would motivate and incent more use of amenities, and if we could pass on those incentive dollars to resources to not only, like we do great amenity planning here, but then you've got to bring them to life. So how do you do that? Through the social aspect of the building and such. So, with increased policy, with increased awareness around the importance of this and longevity and such, I think we can start to not only build great places, but do them in a mindful way that people engage in them, and as well as we encourage that engagement.
So similar to your conversation earlier today, we were talking about you create the pop-up plaza,
Yeah.
but how do you activate it? How do you,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
how do you create that as a natural outcome? Yeah.
The build it, they will come. It's not the field of dreams. I mean, it's, build it and give them a reason to come and engage. Yeah.
Mark, do you have any thoughts on policy from a
I mean,
policy standpoint?
I would argue that a lot of the policy has been very successful over the years, and we in the development community complain a lot about bureaucracy and a lot of sort of paternalist approaches to to how projects are designed and built by city planning staff. But we've really got, in my opinion, we've really got building separation right. We've really had a lot of discipline about sort of 7.5 meter separation or 80-foot separation that Vancouver stuck very closely to, and so you don't feel as closed in the urban jungle as you might in some other locations. The urban parklet that's also often part of the project and maintained by the project. There's a lot of really fantastic urban spaces in this city, and a really talented, amazing landscape architecture community here as well, like some really fantastic work that's been done. And this panel came up, I've been sort of living my life in a high rise, and as I go around to my friends' places, my own place, and think about some of these locations with these fabulous little urban spaces with waterfalls and water features, and they're kind of simple, but they really work, and they work for. There's a lot of encouragement of engagement, of community engagement of people in the buildings. And another thing that I harp on a lot when we design these projects, and we're very, very focused on trying to create a sense of community within our buildings, but one of the biggest pieces of that, certainly in this market, and I think a lot of other markets around the world, is pets. Mm-hmm. And we really try to be pet friendly, we really try to accommodate pets, and we really try to promote pets as a way of bringing together people, our tenants and our clients in the buildings. So, not a policy thing necessarily, but certainly something that's, I think, very powerful in terms of offering a long-term livable building in a neighborhood within our real estate portfolio.
And I would add the podium rooftop requirements for a public space and parks and play areas is also really significant in our policy. I agree. I think there has been, and there's other policies that have incented other things, storage, balconies, others, right?
Storage rooms. We have exempt storage rooms in buildings. It's this sort of odd 40 square foot, 3.5 square meter exemption for density in projects. Density used to be more of a constraint. Really now it's height, I would say. Density used to be expensive, and 3 years ago density was expensive. Now it isn't. I was just trying to think. There's one last brilliant point I'm coming to it.
Well, maybe I'll go to the last question. We've got about a minute left, so ask both of you to give maybe a quick takeaway. So, what would be a major takeaway from the Vancouver experience that you think you'd like to share with the World City community?
Well, I think the focus on the ground plane has been really important. I think it's been generally really successful, eyes on the street, all of that. I think, the townhouse door on the street is a real challenge from a design perspective, because you end up with dark units, you end up with privacy issues, but it does make for a better street.
I live in one of those units, right? It's fantastic.
It does end up for the better street. Yeah. Retail in the right places, I think you have to be careful with how much you do. and you've got to make it good retail. And that's one thing we've lost our way on in a number of earlier projects in this market. Like, make sure the retail works for retailers, because unsuccessful retail or vacant storefronts is not going to be good for as an amenity or to activate your neighborhood.
Ashley, last word.
I think just doing twice as many things does not create twice as much value. And when you're dealing with tighter footprints and tighter performance and affordability, just challenge everything you're doing in that building. Every feature you're putting in, are you going to get that lifestyle value at a cost, and is it really delivering what your audience wants?
Great.
Yeah, you can't spend too much time on floor plans, you can't spend too much time on the ground plane, and you can't spend too much time on the amenities. It's incredible the time that goes into it, but every time that you put that focus with your team, it really pays off.
Yeah, challenging it is constructive. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you.